You know that feeling when your phone rings and a name pops up that you haven't seen in years? That name that makes your stomach drop and your heart race at the same time? Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me on a random Tuesday afternoon while I was sitting in my home office going through emails. 3 years. It had been 3 whole years since I'd heard from her. 3 years of absolute silence. No calls, no texts, not even a birthday message. And now there she was, my ex-best friend, the girl I'd shared everything with since our college days. I stared at my phone for what felt like forever, watching it buzz in my hand. Part of me wanted to answer. Part of me wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I just sat there, frozen, as memories came flooding back like a movie playing in fast forward. We used to be inseparable, you know? The kind of friends people would joke about, saying we were basically the same person. We shared a tiny apartment after graduation, the kind where you could literally cook dinner, watch TV, and have a conversation with someone in the bathroom all at the same time. We were broke, eating instant noodles for dinner more nights than I'd like to admit. But we were happy. We had dreams. Big, crazy dreams about taking over the world. I wanted to start my own business. She wanted to climb the corporate ladder. And back then, we supported each other. She'd stay up late helping me work on my business plans, and I'd help her practice for interviews. We were a team, but things changed. They always do, right? It started slowly. I left my stable corporate job to launch my tech startup. I know. Everyone and their mother has a tech startup these days. But this was my dream, and I was willing to risk everything for it. My best friend, though, she didn't see it that way. She got this amazing position at a prestigious company, great salary, benefits, the whole package. And suddenly the way she looked at me changed. The comments started small. Are you sure about this? Don't you think you should have a backup plan? You know most startups fail, right? I tried to brush it off. I told myself she was just worried about me. Friends worry, that's what they do. But then the comments got sharper. She'd make jokes about my risky lifestyle when we were out with other friends. She'd talk about her salary and her bonuses and then look at me with this pitying expression. When I'd show up to hangouts in regular clothes from Target or wherever, she'd show up in designer everything, making sure everyone noticed the difference. The worst part? She started canceling on me, a lot. She was always too busy with work events or networking dinners. And when she did make time for me, she'd spend the whole time talking about her success and barely asking about my business. When she did ask, it felt like she was waiting for me to admit I'd failed so she could say, I told you so. The final straw came at our mutual friend's wedding. Beautiful ceremony, gorgeous venue, you know the type. I was happy to be there, wearing a nice dress I'd found at a thrift store. Was it designer? No. But it was pretty. It fit well, and honestly, I was proud of myself for finding it. My ex-best friend showed up looking like she'd stepped off a runway, and that would have been fine. Good for her, you know? But then, in front of everyone at our table, she literally laughed and said, Oh, sweetie, are you still thrift shopping? That's so brave of you. The way she said it, the look on her face, the giggles from some of the other people at the table. I felt about 2 inches tall. I excused myself, went to the bathroom, and cried. Then I dried my tears, fixed my makeup, and made a decision. I was done. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't make a scene. I just stopped answering her calls and texts. Eventually, she stopped trying. That was 3 years ago, and now here she was, calling me out of the blue. My finger hovered over the answer button. What did she want? Why now? Against every instinct screaming at me to let it go to voicemail, I answered. Hello? Oh my God, you actually picked up. Her voice sounded different. Smaller somehow. Less confident. I wasn't sure you would. It's been 3 years, I said, keeping my voice neutral. What's going on? There was a pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end. I know I don't have any right to call you. I know that, but I'm desperate, and I didn't know who else to turn to. Despite everything, I felt a little tug in my chest. We had history, years of history. What happened? She let out this shaky breath. I lost my job. 6 months ago. I've been looking for something new, but the market is terrible, and my savings are gone, and I'm drowning in credit card debt. I'm about to lose my apartment. Her voice cracked. I heard through the grapevine that your business was doing okay, and I thought maybe you could help me out. Just a loan. I'd pay you back, I swear. I sat back in my chair processing this. My business was doing okay? If only she knew. My startup had exploded in ways I never imagined. 2 years ago, I'd sold it to a major corporation for more money than I ever dreamed of having. After taxes and splitting with my business partner and the early investors, I'd walked away with enough money to never work again if I didn't want to. But here's the thing. I'd kept it quiet. Really quiet. I still drove my old Honda Civic. I still shopped at normal stores. I didn't post about it on social media or brag about it at parties. Only my family and my financial advisor knew the real numbers. To everyone else, I was just doing okay. Why did I keep it secret? Honestly, because of situations exactly like this one. I'd seen what happened when people knew you had money. Suddenly, everyone needs a loan. Everyone has an investment opportunity. Everyone's your best friend again. I didn't want that life. You still there? She asked, pulling me back to the conversation. Yeah, I'm here. I'm just processing. It's been a long time. I know. And I'm sorry about that. I really am. She paused. Look, I know things got weird between us. I wasn't a good friend, but we had so many good years together. Doesn't that count for something? I closed my eyes. That was the question, wasn't it? Did the good years count enough to overlook the bad ones? Did our history give her the right to ask me for help after years of making me feel worthless? How much do you need? I asked. I could practically hear her relief through the phone. 50,000 would clear everything and give me a fresh start. But honestly, whatever you can spare would help. Even 10 or 20,000 would make a huge difference. $50,000. She had no idea I could write that check right now without even looking at my bank balance. But something about this whole conversation felt off. She hadn't actually apologized. Not really. She'd said things got weird, like it was some mutual thing that just happened, not something she'd caused with her judgment and cruelty. I need to think about this, I said slowly. This is a big ask after 3 years of silence. I understand. I do. But can we at least meet up? Talk face to face? I feel like maybe if we could just sit down together. Her voice got smaller. I miss you. I miss my friend. Now that hit differently. Because I missed her too. Or at least I missed who she used to be. I missed the girl who'd eat pizza on the floor of our tiny apartment and laugh until we cried. I missed having someone who knew all my stories and all my secrets. But was that girl still in there? Or had she become someone else entirely? Okay, I heard myself say. Let's meet for coffee this weekend. But I'm not making any promises about the money. Thank you. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me. After we hung up, I sat there staring at my phone, wondering what I'd just agreed to. Was I being stupid? Probably. Was I setting myself up to get hurt again? Most likely. But there was this tiny voice in the back of my head, the voice of the girl I used to be, the one who believed in second chances and the good in people. Maybe, just maybe, this conversation would give me the closure I never got. Or maybe it would give us both a chance to fix what had been broken. Either way, I was about to find out. Maybe, just maybe, this conversation would give me the closure I never got. Or maybe it would give us both a chance to fix what had been broken. Either way, I was about to find out. Saturday morning came faster than I expected. I got to the coffee shop early, ordered my usual latte, and grabbed a table by the window. My hands were shaking a little, which annoyed me. Why was I nervous? This was my friend. Or at least she used to be. I watched people walking by outside, wondering if I'd even recognize her when she showed up. Would she look the same? Would I feel that instant connection we used to have? Or would it be awkward and forced, like running into an ex at the grocery store? Then I saw her walking up the sidewalk, and my heart did this weird flip thing. She looked different, really different. Gone were the designer handbags and expensive sunglasses. She was carrying a simple canvas tote bag, the kind you get for free at events. Her hair, which she used to get done at a fancy salon every month, was pulled back in a plain ponytail. She'd lost weight too, and not in a healthy way. She looked tired, worn down. Like someone who'd been carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders for too long. For a second, I felt this wave of sympathy wash over me. Whatever had happened to her, it had clearly been rough. This wasn't the confident, put-together person who'd made fun of my thrift store dress. This was someone who'd been humbled by life in a big way. She spotted me through the window and gave this small, uncertain wave. I waved back and watched as she came inside and walked over to my table. There was this awkward moment where neither of us knew if we should hug or shake hands or just sit down. We ended up doing this weird half-hug thing that probably looked as uncomfortable as it felt. "Hi," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Thanks for meeting me. I wasn't sure you would. Yeah, well, here I am." I took a sip of my coffee, not sure what else to say. She ordered a small black coffee. Nothing fancy. The girl who used to only drink complicated lattes with oat milk and extra shots was now ordering the cheapest thing on the menu. That told me a lot about how bad things had gotten for her. We sat in silence for a minute, both of us stirring our coffee like it was the most interesting thing in the world. Finally, she spoke up. "You look good. Really good. Life must be treating you well." "It's been interesting," I said carefully. I wasn't about to dump my whole success story on her. "Not yet, anyway," she nodded, looking down at her coffee. "I'm glad. Really, I am. I know things ended badly between us, and that's on me. I wasn't a good friend." "Okay." So she was acknowledging it. That was something, at least. "Yeah, you weren't," I said quietly. "You really hurt me." Her eyes got a little watery. "I know. I was jealous, okay? You were so brave, leaving your job and chasing your dream, and I was terrified. Terrified that you'd succeed and make me look like a coward for playing it safe. And when you were struggling at first, I felt validated, like I'd made the right choice." She wiped at her eyes. "I'm not proud of it. I was a terrible person. I wanted to stay mad. I really did. But seeing her like this, hearing her actually admit what she'd done, it was hard to keep that wall up. Still, something felt off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but my gut was telling me to be careful. "So what happened?" I asked. "You said you lost your job?" She nodded and launched into this whole story about company restructuring and layoffs and how she'd been let go despite her great performance reviews. How she'd been looking for new positions, but the job market was brutal. How her savings had disappeared faster than she'd expected. How the credit card bills kept piling up because she'd been living beyond her means, thinking her high salary would last forever. I listened, nodding in the right places, making sympathetic sounds. And I did feel bad for her. Losing a job is tough. Being in debt is stressful. I got that. But then, right in the middle of telling me about her struggles, she said something that made my stomach drop. I mean, "You clearly understand what it's like to struggle." She glanced at my outfit. Jeans and a sweater from Target. "You're still dressing pretty simple. That watch must be what, a Timex?" She gave this little laugh. "It's kind of inspiring, actually, how you've stayed humble even though you're supposedly doing well." There it was. That tone, that subtle condescension wrapped up in a compliment. Supposedly doing well. Like she didn't quite believe I had any real success. Like she was still looking down on me even while asking me for money. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice level. "My business is doing fine. That's great. I'm so happy for you." She leaned forward, her expression shifting to something more urgent. "Which is why I was hoping you could help me out. I need about $50,000 to clear all my debts and get back on my feet. I know that's a lot, but I promise I'd pay you back. We could set up a payment plan, make it official, whatever you want." $50,000. She was asking for $50,000 like it was no big deal. Like we were still best friends who'd do anything for each other. Like she hadn't spent years making me feel worthless. "That's a lot of money," I said carefully. I know. But look, I know how you tech people are. You all talk big about your startups and your success stories, but I get that the reality is probably more modest." She gave me this knowing look. "So if 50 is too much, I'd be grateful for anything. Even 10 or 20,000 would make a huge difference. It would at least buy me some time." And there it was again. You tech people. The implication that I was probably exaggerating my success. That I was like everyone else who talked big but didn't have much to show for it. She was doing the same thing she'd always done, minimizing my achievements while asking for my help. I sat back in my chair, studying her face. "Did you ever actually believe in me? In my business?" She looked confused by the question. "What do you mean?" "I mean, when we were friends, when I was first starting out, did you ever really think I'd succeed? Or were you just waiting for me to fail?" Her face flushed red. "That's not fair. I was concerned about you. Startups fail all the time. I was just being realistic. No, you were being negative. There's a difference. I felt years of hurt bubbling up. You made me feel like an idiot for taking a risk. You made me feel small. And then when I showed up to that wedding in a dress that wasn't designer, you humiliated me in front of everyone. Oh, come on. That was years ago. Are you really going to hold on to that? She threw her hands up. I'm here vulnerable asking for help and you're bringing up ancient history? Ancient history? You never apologized. Not really. You said you weren't a good friend, but you haven't actually taken responsibility for how cruel you were. My voice was getting louder, and I didn't care. And even now, even while you're asking me for money, you're still doing it. Still making little comments about my clothes and my watch. Still implying that I'm not as successful as I say I am. She sat back, her eyes wide. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. You absolutely did. I took a breath, trying to calm down. People were starting to look at us. You know what? I think we need to have this conversation somewhere else. Somewhere more private. She looked panicked. Are you saying no? You won't help me? I'm saying this is more complicated than you're making it out to be. You can't just call me after 3 years, ask for a huge amount of money, and expect everything to be fine. I pulled out my phone. Come to my place this weekend. Tomorrow. We'll talk there, and I'll give you my answer then. Why can't you just tell me now? Because I wanted her to see. I wanted her to understand exactly what she'd given up when she decided I wasn't worth her time. I wanted her to know what she'd missed while she was busy judging me. Because I need time to think about what I'm willing to do here. And I want you to understand what you're really asking for. I typed out my address and sent it to her phone. Come by around 11 tomorrow morning. She looked at her phone and her eyebrows shot up. This address, this is in the hills. Do you have a roommate or something? I just smiled. See you tomorrow. As I walked out of that coffee shop, I felt this mix of emotions I couldn't quite sort out. Part of me was angry. Part of me was sad. And part of me was excited? Maybe that's the wrong word. But I was curious to see her reaction when she realized the truth. When she understood that the person she'd looked down on, the person she'd mocked and dismissed, had become more successful than she'd ever imagined. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. Very interesting indeed. Sunday morning, I woke up extra early. I couldn't help it. I was buzzing with this nervous energy. I made myself breakfast, did a light workout, and then just waited. I pulled up the security camera app on my phone and watched the front gate. Yeah, I have security cameras. That's one of those things you get when you have a place like mine. Around 10:45, I saw the Uber pull up to the gate. I watched the driver's face on the camera as he double-checked the address on his phone, looking confused. He rolled down his window and pressed the call button on the intercom. I have a passenger for this address? He sounded uncertain, like maybe he'd made a wrong turn somewhere. I pressed the button to open the gates. Yes, that's correct. Send them through. The massive iron gates swung open slowly, and I switched camera views to watch the car come up the driveway. My driveway is about a quarter-mile long, winding through professionally landscaped gardens with Japanese maples and sculptured hedges. It took them almost 2 minutes to reach the house. I zoomed in on the back seat of the Uber, and oh man, the look on my ex-best friend's face was absolutely priceless. Her mouth was literally hanging open. She was leaning forward in her seat, staring out the window like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Her head kept swiveling from side to side, trying to take it all in. The car pulled up to the circular driveway in front of my house, and I watched her get out slowly, like she was in a daze. She stood there for a minute, just staring up at my home. And yeah, I get it. It's a lot to take in. My house is modern architecture, lots of glass, clean lines, and this beautiful white stone that seems to glow in the sunlight. It's 3 stories with floor-to-ceiling windows across the front, giving you glimpses of the interior and the view beyond. The entrance has these massive wooden doors that probably cost more than most people's cars. I turned off the security app and walked to the front door, taking a deep breath. This was it, the moment of truth. I opened the door just as she was raising her hand to knock. "Hey," I said casually, like this was completely normal. "Come on in." She just stood there, frozen. What? Whose house is this?" "Mine." I stepped aside to let her in. "Welcome to my home." She walked through the doorway like she was in a museum, afraid to touch anything. The entrance opens into this two-story foyer with a floating staircase and this gorgeous chandelier I found at an art gallery in New York. Original paintings line the walls, real ones, not prints. The floors are Italian marble and they shine so much you can almost see your reflection. You live here? She turned in a circle, her eyes wide. But how? You said your business was doing fine. It is doing fine. Better than fine, actually. I led her through to the living room, which is my favorite space in the whole house. One entire wall is glass, opening up to a view of the infinity pool and the city sprawling out below us. On a clear day like today, you can see for miles. She sank down onto my couch, a custom Italian leather piece that cost about $30,000. Not that I was going to tell her that. She looked like she might pass out. "I don't understand," she whispered. "When did this happen? How did this happen?" I sat down in the chair across from her, keeping my voice calm and even. "Remember my tech startup? The one you said would probably fail like most startups do? Well, it didn't fail. Actually, it did better than I ever dreamed. About 2 years ago, a Fortune 500 company approached me about acquiring it. She was staring at me like I was speaking a foreign language. They offered me $85 million, I continued, watching her face go pale. After taxes and after splitting with my business partner and paying out our early investors, I personally walked away with about $32 million. The silence that followed was deafening. She just sat there, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. I could literally see her brain trying to process this information, trying to make it fit with the image she'd had of me. 32 million, she finally managed to say. Dollars? Yep, give or take a few $100,000. I said it so casually, like we were talking about the weather. So to answer your question from yesterday, yes, I could write you a check for $50,000 right now. I could write it without even logging into my bank account to check my balance first. Her face went through about 15 different emotions in the span of 10 seconds. Shock, disbelief, confusion, and then something uglier. Something that looked a lot like jealousy mixed with anger. Then why? She burst out. Why do you still dress like that? She gestured at my outfit, jeans and a simple t-shirt. Why do you still drive that old car? Why didn't you say anything? I stood up and walked over to the window, looking out at the view. Because this, I gestured around the room, doesn't define who I am. It never has. I still shop at the same stores I always shopped at. I still eat at the same restaurants. I still hang out with the same friends who liked me before any of this happened. But you lied to everyone. I didn't lie to anyone, I said firmly, turning back to face her. I just didn't announce it. There's a difference. I'm not on social media posting pictures of my house or my car or my bank account. I'm not walking around in designer clothes making sure everyone knows how much money I have. I paused. I'm not doing what you used to do. That hit her hard. I could see it in her face. You made everything about status and appearances, I continued. You judged me for shopping at thrift stores. You mocked me for not having designer bags. You looked down on me because I was taking a risk instead of playing it safe like you. And the whole time, you had no idea what I was actually building? She stood up, and I could see anger flashing in her eyes now. So what, you were just testing me? Pretending to be poor to see if I was a good enough friend? That's pretty messed up. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Pretending to be poor? I wasn't pretending anything. I just don't feel the need to prove my worth to anyone through material things. The only one who made our friendship about money and status was you. That's not fair, isn't it? I walked back toward her. You didn't call me in 3 years. 3 years of silence. And then suddenly, when you're desperate and broke, you reach out. Not to apologize. Not to reconnect as friends, but because you needed money. I did apologize. No, you said you weren't a good friend and that things got weird. That's not an apology. That's you downplaying what you did. I could feel all the hurt from the past few years bubbling up. You humiliated me at that wedding. You made me feel worthless for years. And even yesterday at the coffee shop, you were still doing it. Still making comments about my clothes and my watch. Still implying that I was probably lying about being successful. Tears started rolling down her cheeks, but they looked different from the tears at the coffee shop. These ones seemed real, raw. What do you want me to say? That I was horrible? Fine, I was horrible! I was jealous and petty and I treated you terribly. Is that what you want to hear? What I want, I said quietly, is for you to understand what you're really asking me for. You're not just asking for money. You're asking me to forget years of hurt and betrayal. You're asking me to trust you again after you showed me exactly who you become when things are going well for you. She collapsed back onto the couch, putting her head in her hands. So you brought me here to gloat? To rub my face in your success while I'm at my lowest point? No, I said, and I meant it. I brought you here because you needed to see the truth. You needed to understand that the person you looked down on, the person you abandoned, built something real, something lasting. And I did it without changing who I am at my core. I sat down next to her, not too close, but close enough. Here's the thing. I'm not the same person I was 3 years ago. Losing you as a friend hurt like hell. But it also taught me something important about who I want in my life, about what real friendship looks like. She looked up at me, mascara running down her face. I really messed up, didn't I? Yeah, I said softly. You really did. We sat there in silence for a while, both of us processing everything. Outside, I could hear birds chirping and the distant sound of a lawnmower from a neighbor's property. Inside, the air felt heavy with years of unspoken words and broken trust. Finally, she spoke up. I don't blame you if you want me to leave. I wouldn't help me either if I were you. I took a deep breath. I didn't say I wouldn't help you. Her head snapped up, hope lighting up her face. You'll give me the money? No, I said and watched the hope die. I won't give you money, but I will help you. The confusion on her face was immediate. What do you mean you'll help me but not give me money? That doesn't make any sense. I got up and walked over to my desk in the corner of the living room. I pulled out a business card from the drawer and came back, holding it out to her. This is my career coach. She's incredible. She helped me transition from corporate thinking to entrepreneurship, but she also works with people who are trying to rebuild their careers. She took the card, staring at it like it might bite her. A career coach? Yeah. I'm going to pay for 6 months of sessions with her. She'll help you figure out what went wrong, what you really want from your career, and how to position yourself in the job market. I sat back down. But that's not all. I also have 3 contacts in your industry who are actively hiring right now. Good positions, with companies that treat their employees well. I'll introduce you to all 3 of them. She was still staring at the card, not saying anything. One of them actually owes me a favor, I continued. A pretty big one. I helped her company solve a major tech problem last year. She'll guarantee you an interview. Not a job. You'll have to earn that yourself. But she'll make sure you get a fair shot. Finally, she looked up at me. Why would you do this? Why not just give me the money and be done with it? I leaned forward, making sure she was really hearing me. Because giving you $50,000 would be the easy thing to do. For me, anyway. I could write that check right now and forget about it tomorrow. But what would that actually do for you? It would solve my problems. No, I said firmly. It would solve your immediate problems. You'd pay off your debts, you'd have some breathing room, and then what? What happens in 6 months when that money's gone and you still don't have a stable income? What happens when you're right back where you started? She opened her mouth to argue, but I kept going. You lost your job 6 months ago. You've been struggling to find something new. That tells me something's off. Either with how you're approaching the job search, or with what you're looking for, or maybe with how you see yourself in the market. Just throwing money at that won't fix it. I could see her processing this, the wheels turning in her head. So you're saying I need to fix myself first? I'm saying you need to figure out what actually went wrong and address the root cause, not just cover up the symptoms. I gestured to the business card. That's what she'll help you with. And the job contacts will give you real opportunities, not just a temporary Band-Aid. She set the card down on the coffee table and looked at me with something that might have been resentment. This feels like you're trying to teach me a lesson or something. Like you're punishing me? Maybe I am, I admitted, but not the way you think. Look, when I was struggling with my startup, do you know what would have helped me? It wasn't money. I mean, yeah, money would have been nice. But what I really needed was someone who believed in me, someone who saw my potential and wanted to help me reach it. My voice got a little thick with emotion. You could have been that person. Instead, you made me feel like I was stupid for trying. And now here you are, asking me to just hand you money when you didn't believe in me when I needed support. That's not fair, she said, but her voice was small. Life isn't fair. You taught me that. I picked up the business card and held it out to her again. But here's the thing, I'm not you. I'm not going to kick you when you're down. I'm not going to make you feel worthless, but I'm also not going to enable you to avoid dealing with your real issues. She took the card again, this time holding on to it. There's a condition, isn't there? There's always a condition. Yeah, there is. I met her eyes. You need to be honest. Really honest? Not with me, with yourself. About why you treated me the way you did. About why you made everything into a competition. About what you actually want from life. I already apologized. No, you admitted you were wrong. That's different from actually understanding why you did what you did. I stood up and walked back to the window. The city looked so peaceful from up here, so removed from all the chaos down below. I spent a lot of time thinking about our friendship after it ended, about what went wrong, and I realized something. I turned back to face her. You were scared. You were absolutely terrified that I might succeed because that would mean you made the wrong choice. You took the safe path and I took the risky one, and if my risk paid off while your safe path didn't work out, what would that say about you? Her face crumpled. Fresh tears started flowing, and these ones looked real. Deep, painful, honest tears. I was so jealous, she whispered. From the moment you quit your job, I was jealous. Because I wanted to do that too. I had ideas, dreams, but I was too scared to try. And watching you actually do it, actually take that leap, it made me feel like a coward. Finally we were getting somewhere real. So when you struggled at first, I felt relieved, she continued, the words spilling out now like water from a broken dam. I told myself I'd made the right choice by playing it safe. And I convinced myself that you were going to fail, because if you failed, then I wouldn't have to feel bad about not trying. She wiped at her face with her hands. And then at that wedding, when I saw you in that thrift store dress, looking happy and confident even though you didn't have designer clothes, I hated it. I hated that you were content with less because I wasn't. I needed the designer bags and the expensive dinners and the corporate title to feel valuable. And you didn't. So I tried to make you feel small because that's how I felt inside. I came back and sat down next to her. Not too close, but closer than before. Thank you. That's the first actually honest thing you've said since you called me. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. Not just for the wedding, but for all of it. For every snide comment, for every time I made you doubt yourself, for abandoning you when you needed a friend. I was a terrible person. You were, I agreed, and she flinched. But you don't have to keep being that person. She looked up at me, confused. What do you mean? I picked up the business card from where she'd set it down. This is your chance to actually change. Not because you lost your job or because you need my help, but because you deserve to figure out who you really are when you're not performing for everyone else. I don't know who that is, she admitted quietly. Then it's time to find out. I pressed the card into her hand. Call her tomorrow. Set up your first session. Be honest with her about everything. About me, about your jealousy, about all of it. She's heard worse, trust me. And the job contacts. I'll send you their information after you've had at least 3 sessions with the career coach. You need to do some internal work first before you're ready for those conversations. I stood up. But I promise you, if you put in the effort, these opportunities will still be there. She stood up too, clutching the business card like a lifeline. Why are you being so nice to me? After everything I did? I thought about that for a moment. Honestly, part of it is because I remember who you used to be. The girl who stayed up all night helping me prepare for presentations. The one who brought me soup when I was sick. The friend who made me laugh until I cried. I paused. That girl is still in there somewhere, and I think she deserves a chance to come back. And the other part? The other part is that building my company taught me something important. Real success isn't about the money you make or the stuff you own. It's about the person you become along the way. I had to learn that lesson. Maybe now it's your turn. We walked to the door together, and this time the hug wasn't awkward. It was sad and hopeful and complicated, just like everything between us had become. I don't know if we can ever be friends again, I said as she was leaving. Too much has happened. Too much hurt. I know, she said quietly. I don't expect that. I'm grateful for this chance. Don't waste it, I told her. And don't do this for me or to prove something to me. Do it for yourself. After she left, I stood at my window for a long time, watching the sun start to set over the city. My phone buzzed with a text from my current best friend. Yes, I'd found new friends, real ones who supported me through everything. She was asking if I wanted to grab dinner. I smiled and texted back yes. 6 months went by. 6 months of silence, which I expected. I didn't reach out, and she didn't either. I figured she'd probably taken the money I'd offered in the form of career coaching and contacts and decided it wasn't enough, that she'd gone back to her old patterns. Then one Tuesday evening, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I'd almost deleted a dozen times but never quite could. I got a job. Started 3 weeks ago. It's not as high level as my old position, but it's good, stable, and I actually like it. The career coach helped me realize I was chasing titles instead of fulfillment. I'm also in therapy now, working through a lot of stuff. I don't expect anything from you, but I wanted to say thank you. You saved me from myself, and I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. No expectations. I read the message 3 times. Then I saved it, but I didn't respond. Not yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. Some wounds take longer to heal than 6 months. Some friendships once broken can't be fully repaired. But that didn't mean I wasn't happy for her. I was. Genuinely happy that she was finding her way. I looked around my beautiful home, at the life I'd built through hard work and determination. The mansion was nice, sure. But you know what felt even better? Knowing that I'd stayed true to myself through all of it. That I hadn't let money change who I was at my core. I'd learned that you can't buy real friendship or genuine respect. You can't purchase character or integrity. The only thing money really does is amplify who you already are. If you're generous, you become more generous. If you're bitter, you become more bitter. And me? I chose to be kind, even to someone who hadn't been kind to me. Not because she deserved it, but because that's who I wanted to be. Looking back, losing that friendship was one of the most painful things I'd gone through. But it also taught me one of the most valuable lessons of my life. You're real. Worth has nothing to do with your bank account or your zip code or the brand of clothes you wear. It's about how you treat people when you have nothing to gain from them. It's about staying humble when you have every reason to be arrogant. It's about lifting others up instead of tearing them down. My ex-best friend came to my mansion looking for money. She left with something potentially more valuable, a mirror and a chance to change. Whether she'd take that chance was up to her. As for me, I'd done what I could. I'd been the friend she never was to me, and that felt like the real success story, the end.